The red brick buildings of Boston's Kendall Square gleamed in the morning sun as I walked through the entrance of Biomed Dynamics, my badge swinging against my chest with each step. 11 months. That's how long I'd been pouring my soul into the project that could change everything. An AI diagnostic system that could detect early-stage cancer from routine blood work with 97% accuracy. My name is Alex Chen, and I'm a machine learning engineer who believed he was about to change the world. The elevator ride to the 7th floor felt different that Tuesday morning. Today was the day I'd been working toward for almost a year. The presentation to venture health capital. The investors who could turn my prototype into a life-saving reality for millions of patients worldwide. "Morning, Alex," called out Jennifer, one of the lab technicians, as I passed the medical research wing. "Big day today, huh?" "The biggest," I replied, clutching my laptop bag tighter. Inside that bag was my life's work. Thousands of lines of code, training datasets, algorithm improvements, and documentation that represented countless late nights and weekend sacrifices. I settled into my cubicle in the engineering department, surrounded by the familiar hum of servers and the soft clicking of keyboards. The presentation was scheduled for 2 p.m., giving me the morning to run final tests and polish the demo. Everything had to be perfect. "Alex, could I see you in my office, Dr. Patricia Williams' voice cut through my concentration. My supervisor stood by her corner office, her expression unreadable behind wire-rimmed glasses. Dr. Williams was a brilliant woman, MIT PhD, 15 years in medical technology, and the kind of reputation that opened doors across the industry. She was also the person who'd been increasingly cold toward me as my project gained recognition within the company. "Of course, Dr. Williams," I said, saving my work and following her into the office that overlooked the Charles River. She closed the door behind us, which immediately put me on edge. "I wanted to discuss today's presentation. I'm ready. The system is performing beautifully, and I've prepared comprehensive documentation for the investors." "That's what I wanted to talk about." She sat behind her desk, her fingers steepled. "I've been reviewing the project scope, and I'm concerned about the claims we're making." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" "A 97% accuracy rate is an extraordinary claim. The investors are sophisticated people who understand the limitations of current technology. I don't want us to oversell and underdeliver." "Dr. Williams, the numbers are solid. I've run thousands of test cases, validated against 3 different datasets, and I understand your enthusiasm, Alex, but I think we need to be more conservative. Perhaps we should postpone the presentation until we have more data." "Postpone?" I couldn't hide the shock in my voice. "Dr. Williams, Venture Health Capital has been trying to schedule this meeting for 2 months. The company's been promoting this as our breakthrough innovation. I'm aware of the timeline pressures, but as the project supervisor, I have to consider the bigger picture." There it was, the reminder of who was in charge. Over the past 11 months, I'd noticed Dr. Williams' increasing discomfort with the attention my project was receiving. When the CEO mentioned it in the quarterly all-hands meeting, when medical journals requested interviews, when colleagues started referring to the Chen algorithm, each recognition seemed to deepen her resentment. "Dr. Williams, with respect, I've been working on this for 11 months. The algorithm is ready. The presentation is prepared. The investors are expecting to see it, and they will see it, but under my supervision, with appropriate disclaimers about the preliminary nature of the results." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I'll be presenting the project today. You'll be there to provide technical support, of course, but I'll handle the investor relations." The words hit me like a physical blow. 11 months of work, and suddenly I was being reduced to technical support for my own creation. "Dr. Williams, this is my project. I designed the algorithm, trained the models, validated the results. The investors specifically requested to meet with the lead developer. The lead developer reports to me, Alex, and I report to the board. This is how corporate hierarchies work." I stared at her, trying to process what was happening. "I don't understand. Yesterday you were supportive. You said the presentation would be a great opportunity for me to showcase my work. I reconsidered overnight. Sometimes initial enthusiasm needs to be tempered with practical wisdom, but I could see something else in her eyes, something that looked like fear that my success might overshadow her own contributions, fear that the Chen algorithm might become more valuable than the supervisor who'd claimed credit for managing it. "I need to get back to my work," I said, standing up, "to prepare for the presentation that I apparently won't be giving." "Alex, Don't take this personally. This is about what's best for the company. I walked back to my cubicle, my mind racing. The presentation was in 4 hours. I had to find a way to make Dr. Williams understand that sidelining me was a mistake, not just for my career but for the project itself. I opened my laptop and began reviewing my presentation slides one more time. The algorithm was beautiful, elegant code that could save lives by detecting cancer months earlier than traditional methods. The training data showed consistent results across demographics, age groups, and cancer types. This wasn't just a technical achievement, it was a medical breakthrough. Around noon, I decided to grab lunch and clear my head. As I walked through the cafeteria, I overheard 2 executives talking at a nearby table. "The Venture Health presentation is this afternoon," one said. "Patricia Williams is presenting the Diagnostic AI project." I thought that was the Chen Kids project. It is, but Williams is the supervisor. Makes sense she'd handle the investor pitch. I sat alone at a corner table, picking at my sandwich while my mind churned. Everything I'd worked for was being taken away, and there was nothing I could do about it. Corporate hierarchy was corporate hierarchy, but as I walked back to my desk, I felt a renewed sense of determination. Even if Dr. Williams was presenting, it was still my work. The investors would see the value of what I'd created even if they heard about it secondhand. I spent the afternoon doing final system checks, preparing backup documentation, and making sure everything was perfect for the 2 p.m. presentation. Whatever happened, I wanted my work to speak for itself. At 1:45 p.m., I gathered my materials and headed to the executive conference room. Dr. Williams was already there, setting up her own laptop and looking over presentation notes I'd never seen before. "Alex, good. Could you help me with the technical setup?" I connected my laptop to the projection system and opened the presentation I'd spent weeks perfecting. The title slide appeared, "Revolutionary AI Diagnostic System, Early Cancer Detection Through Machine Learning." "Actually," Dr. Williams said, "I've prepared my own presentation slides. Could you switch to my laptop?" My heart sank as I watched her connect her computer. Her title slide read, "Advanced Diagnostic Tools, a Collaborative Approach to Medical AI." She'd rewritten my entire presentation, removing my name from the credits and repositioning the breakthrough as a team effort under experienced supervision. The Venture Health representatives arrived at exactly 2 p.m., 3 partners in expensive suits who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Dr. Williams launched into her presentation, describing the project in general terms, emphasizing the preliminary nature of the results and consistently referring to it as our team's work. I sat in the back of the room, watching 11 months of my life being presented as someone else's cautious experiment, rather than the revolutionary breakthrough it actually was. The investors asked technical questions that Dr. Williams couldn't answer. She'd look back at me, and I'd provide the details while she nodded and took credit for the explanations. After an hour, the lead investor closed his notebook. "Dr. Williams, this is interesting work, but it seems very early stage. The accuracy claims are impressive, but without more robust validation, we'd need to see significantly more progress before considering investment." "Of course," Dr. Williams replied. "We're committed to thorough validation before making any bold claims." As the investors filed out, I felt something break inside me. They dismissed my work as early stage because Dr. Williams had presented it as such. The breakthrough that could save thousands of lives had been reduced to a cautious academic exercise. "That went well," Dr. Williams said after the investors left. "I think we managed expectations appropriately." I stared at her, speechless. She'd just destroyed the best opportunity my project would ever have, and she thought it had gone well. "I need to get back to work," I said, gathering my materials. "Alex, I hope you understand that this was about protecting the project's long-term viability. Sometimes we have to sacrifice short-term recognition for long-term success." I walked back to my cubicle, sat down at my desk and opened my laptop to document the day's events. But when I clicked on my project folder, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The folder was empty. Every file, every piece of code, every data set, every document I'd created over the past 11 months, all of it was gone. The folder existed, but it contained nothing. I frantically searched through my directories, checked my backup folders, and ran file recovery programs, but there was no trace of my work anywhere on the system. 11 months of my life had been erased. I sat staring at the empty folder, my hands trembling, trying to process what had happened. This wasn't a technical failure or accidental deletion. This was deliberate. My phone buzzed with a text from my girlfriend, Emma. "How did the presentation go? Can't wait to hear about your success." I stared at the message, unable to respond. How do you tell someone that not only did your presentation fail, but that your entire life's work had been wiped out of existence? The office around me continued its normal rhythm. Keyboards clicking, phones ringing, colleagues discussing their projects. But I felt like I was watching it all from underwater, disconnected from the world where people's work actually mattered and couldn't be erased on a whim. I closed my laptop and sat in the gathering darkness of the Boston evening, trying to figure out what to do next. 11 months of dreams had just become a nightmare, and I had no idea how to wake up from it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table with my personal laptop, frantically searching through every cloud storage account, every email attachment, every possible backup location where my work might have survived. The coffee grew cold as I clicked through empty folders and searched for file fragments that might have escaped the digital purge. By 3 a.m., I had to face the devastating reality. 11 months of work had been completely erased. The next morning, I walked into Biomed Dynamics with dark circles under my eyes and a sick feeling in my stomach. I went straight to my cubicle and opened my laptop, hoping that somehow the files would magically reappear. But the project folder remained stubbornly empty. "Hey Alex, rough night?" asked Mike, the developer who sat in the cubicle next to mine. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Something like that," I muttered, staring at my screen. I needed to understand what had happened. I opened the system logs and began tracing the file deletion history. What I found made my blood run cold. Every single file in my project directory had been deleted at 11:47 p.m. the previous night, more than 9 hours after I'd left the office. Someone had accessed my system remotely and systematically erased everything. I checked the access logs and found the smoking gun. Dr. Williams's administrative account had been used to connect to my workstation at 11:45 p.m. She'd spent exactly 17 minutes methodically deleting every trace of my work. My hands were shaking as I screenshot the evidence. This wasn't just professional sabotage, it was criminal destruction of company property. But more than that, it was the deliberate erasure of a medical breakthrough that could save lives. I needed to confront her, but I also needed to be smart about it. I printed the access logs and saved copies to my personal cloud storage. Then I walked to Dr. Williams' office, my heart pounding. "Dr. Williams, I need to speak with you urgently." She looked up from her computer, her expression professionally neutral. "Of course. What's on your mind?" "My project files have been deleted, all of them." "That's unfortunate. Did you check with IT about possible system failures?" "I did check. The files were deleted last night at 11:47 p.m. using your administrative access." Her face didn't change, but I saw something flicker behind her eyes. "That's impossible. I was at home last night. The system logs show your account accessing my workstation for 17 minutes, systematically deleting every file in my project directory. Alex, I think you're upset about yesterday's presentation, and you're looking for someone to blame. But accusing me of sabotage is completely inappropriate. I'm not accusing you. I'm stating facts based on system logs." I placed the printouts on her desk. "Would you like to explain how your account was used to delete my files?" She glanced at the papers without picking them up. "System logs can be manipulated. If you're having technical difficulties, I suggest you contact IT support." "Dr. Williams, this is 11 months of work, medical research that could save lives. Even if you disagree with how I've handled the project, destroying the research is unconscionable." "I haven't destroyed anything, Alex." "And I resent the implication that I would engage in such unprofessional behavior." I stared at her, amazed by her composure. She was looking me directly in the eye while lying about something we both knew she'd done. "I want to report this to company security and have a formal investigation." "That's your right, of course, but I should warn you that making false accusations against a supervisor can have serious consequences for your career." The threat was clear. I was a junior engineer going up against a senior manager with 15 years of company history. Even with evidence, the investigation would be my word against hers. "I understand the risks," I said, "but I can't let this stand." After leaving her office, I went straight to the IT department. The head of IT security, a guy named Dave Rodriguez, listened to my story with growing concern. "This is serious, Alex. If someone used administrative access to delete project files, that's a major security violation. Can you verify the logs I found?" Dave pulled up the system records on his computer. "Yeah, I can see the access pattern. Dr. Williams's account definitely connected to your workstation last night. But Alex, there's something else you need to know. What? The backups were purged too. Normally we keep 30 days of file backups, but someone with administrative access deleted the backup history for your project specifically. My heart sank. So there's no way to recover the files? Not through our normal systems. But Dave leaned closer and lowered his voice. I run some additional backup processes that management doesn't know about. Nothing official, just personal paranoia about data loss. Let me check something. He opened a different system and began searching through archived files. After several minutes, his face lit up. Alex, you're not going to believe this. I have a backup of your project directory from 3 days ago. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. Are you serious? Dead serious. It's not complete. You've probably made changes since then, but it's about 95% of your work. Dave, you might have just saved my career. Don't thank me yet. We need to be careful about how we handle this. If Dr. Williams is willing to delete your files, she might try to get you fired for insubordination. He was right. I needed to think strategically about my next move. Dave helped me restore the backup files to a secure location on my personal cloud storage. Looking through the recovered code, I realized I could reconstruct the missing pieces relatively quickly. The core algorithm was intact, along with most of the training data and validation results. But the bigger question remained, what was I going to do about Dr. Williams? That afternoon, I requested a meeting with HR to formally report the incident. The HR director, a woman named Sandra Chen, no relation despite the shared last name, listened to my complaint with professional concern. Alex, these are very serious allegations. Unauthorized access to employee files and destruction of company property are grounds for immediate termination. I have the system logs as evidence. I understand, but I need you to know that Dr. Williams has already filed a complaint about you. My stomach dropped. What kind of complaint? She's claiming that you've been insubordinate, that you've made false accusations against her, and that you've been behaving erratically since the presentation yesterday. That's ridiculous. I've been nothing but professional. I'm sure you have, but the situation is complicated. Doctor, Williams is a senior manager with an excellent reputation, and you're a junior employee making extraordinary claims. The system logs don't lie. No, they don't, but they also don't prove intent. Dr. Williams could claim her account was compromised, or that she was performing routine maintenance, or any number of explanations. I left the HR meeting feeling defeated. Even with evidence, the corporate machinery was designed to protect senior management over junior employees. Doctor, Williams had years of political capital, while I had only the truth. That evening I called Emma to explain what had happened. She deleted everything. Emma's voice was incredulous. Alex, that's insane. Can't you prove it? I can prove it happened, but proving why it happened is more difficult. And even if I could prove it, I'm not sure it would matter. She's already started a counter-narrative that I'm unstable and making false accusations. So what are you going to do? I don't know. I've recovered most of my work, but I can't trust her with it, and I can't present it as long as she's my supervisor. Maybe it's time to look for a new job. The thought had been growing in my mind all day. Maybe this was a sign that I needed to leave Biomed Dynamics entirely. Find a company that would value innovation over office politics. Maybe you're right, I said. But Emma, this algorithm could save lives. I can't just abandon it because of one vindictive supervisor. Then don't abandon it. Find a way to make it work somewhere else. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment looking at the recovered code files. The algorithm was still brilliant, still revolutionary, still capable of changing medical diagnostics forever. Dr. Williams could erase my files, but she couldn't erase my knowledge or my passion for the work. I opened my laptop and began updating my resume. If Biomed Dynamics wasn't willing to support breakthrough innovation, maybe I needed to find a company that was. As I worked on my job applications, I felt something I hadn't experienced since finding the empty project folder: hope. Maybe Dr. Williams had done me a favor. Maybe losing everything was exactly what I needed to find something better. The next morning, I walked into Biomed Dynamics, knowing it might be one of my last days there. But instead of feeling defeated, I felt liberated. I had my work, I had my knowledge, and I had my integrity. Dr. Williams might have erased my files, but she couldn't erase my future. The next 2 weeks at Biomed Dynamics felt like living in a spy thriller. I continued my regular work duties, while quietly building my case against Dr. Williams, all while knowing she was watching my every move. The tension was suffocating, but I refused to let her intimidate me into silence. Dave Rodriguez from IT had become my unlikely ally. During lunch breaks, we'd meet in the parking garage to discuss technical evidence and security protocols. He was as outraged by the file deletion as I was, but he also understood the political complexities better than I did. "Alex, I've been thinking about this situation," Dave said, leaning against his car. "We need more than just access logs. We need to establish a pattern of behavior." "What do you mean?" "I mean, this probably isn't the first time she's done something like this. People don't just wake up one day and decide to sabotage their employees. This kind of behavior escalates over time." He was right. I started thinking back over the past 11 months, remembering incidents that had seemed minor at the time, but now took on a different significance. The way Dr. Williams had accidentally left my name off important emails, how she'd scheduled team meetings when I was at medical conferences, the subtle ways she'd undermined my credibility in front of colleagues. "I need to talk to other people who've worked under her," I said. "Be careful. If word gets back to her that you're investigating, she might escalate her retaliation." That afternoon, I discreetly reached out to former employees who'd worked in Dr. Williams' department. I started with LinkedIn, sending carefully worded messages to people who'd left the company in the past 2 years. The responses were eye-opening. "Alex, I'm glad you reached out," wrote Marcus Thompson, a former data scientist who'd left Biomed 6 months earlier. "I can't say much over LinkedIn, but if you want to talk, call me." When I called Marcus that evening, his story was disturbingly familiar. "She destroyed my career," he said bluntly. "I was working on a predictive analytics project for patient outcomes, really groundbreaking stuff. But when it started getting attention from the C-suite, she suddenly became critical of everything I did." What happened? First, she started questioning my methodology in front of other teams. Then she began limiting my access to data sets, claiming I needed closer supervision. Finally, she reassigned me to routine maintenance tasks and gave my project to someone else. "Did you report it?" I tried, but by then she'd created a paper trail suggesting I was underperforming. HR saw a senior manager with documentation versus a junior employee with complaints. Guess who they believed? 2 other former employees told similar stories. Dr. Williams had a pattern of identifying promising projects, allowing junior employees to do the development work, then either taking credit or sabotaging the work if she felt threatened. Armed with this information, I requested another meeting with HR. Sandra Chen agreed to see me, but her expression was skeptical. "Alex, I have to be honest with you. Since our last meeting, Dr. Williams has provided additional documentation about your performance issues." "What kind of documentation?" "Performance reviews, noting missed deadlines, concerns about your attitude, and questions about your ability to work collaboratively." I felt my face flush with anger. "Those are fabricated. I've never missed a deadline, and I've always been collaborative." "Do you have documentation to support that?" "I have emails, project timelines, and positive feedback from colleagues." "I'd like to see those. But Alex, I need to warn you, this situation is becoming very contentious. Dr. Williams is claiming you're harassing her, and she's requested that you be transferred to a different department. She's trying to get rid of me before I can expose what she did." "That's a serious accusation. Do you have evidence beyond the system logs?" I told Sandra about the pattern of behavior I'd discovered, the other employees who'd been targeted, and the systematic way Dr. Williams had undermined my project, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. "Alex, I understand your frustration, but what you're describing sounds like normal management oversight. Different supervisors have different styles. Normal management doesn't include deleting employee files." "About that, Dr. Williams has provided an explanation for the system access. She says she was performing routine security maintenance on employee workstations, and that the file deletion was accidental." "That's impossible. The deletion pattern was too systematic to be accidental." "I'm not a technical expert, so I can't evaluate that claim, but I can tell you that the company is taking this dispute very seriously." After the meeting, I sat in my car in the parking garage feeling defeated. Dr. Williams was outmaneuvering me at every turn. She had the institutional credibility, the political connections, and the experience to make her lies seem plausible. But I wasn't ready to give up. That evening, I called Dave Rodriguez at home. "Dave, I need your help as a technical expert. Could you review the deletion patterns and provide a professional opinion about whether they could have been accidental?" "I've already done that, Alex. The deletion pattern was clearly intentional. Files were removed in a specific order, with deliberate targeting of your most important work. No accidental maintenance procedure would create that pattern." Would you be willing to put that in writing? Absolutely. But Alex, you need to understand something. Even if we prove the deletion was intentional, it doesn't necessarily prove Dr. Williams did it. She could claim someone else used her account. The access logs show her account, her password, and her typical usage patterns. I know. But corporate investigations look for absolute certainty, not reasonable conclusions, and Dr. Williams has enough political capital to create doubt about any technical evidence. The next morning, I made a decision that would change everything. Instead of continuing to fight within the company's system, I would document everything and prepare for the possibility that I might need to leave. I created a comprehensive dossier of evidence, system logs, recovered files, testimonies from former employees, and Dave's technical analysis. I stored everything in multiple secure locations and shared copies with a lawyer friend who specialized in employment law. Alex, this is a solid case, said my lawyer friend Jennifer Park. You have evidence of deliberate sabotage, a pattern of retaliation, and witness testimony about similar behavior toward other employees. But will it be enough to get justice within the company? Probably not. Corporate HR departments are designed to protect the company, not individual employees, but it would be enough for a wrongful termination lawsuit if they fire you. I don't want to sue, I just want to do my work. I understand, but you should know that your position is becoming untenable. Dr. Williams is building a case to have you fired, and she's doing it systematically. That afternoon, I got confirmation of Jennifer's prediction. Sandra Chen called me to her office for another meeting. Alex, I'm afraid I have some difficult news. The company has decided to place you on administrative leave pending a full investigation of the workplace harassment allegations. Harassment allegations? Dr. Williams has filed a formal complaint claiming you've been creating a hostile work environment, making false accusations, and attempting to intimidate her through inappropriate investigations. I felt the room spinning. This is insane. I'm the victim here. I understand your perspective, but the company has to take all harassment claims seriously. You'll continue to receive pay during the investigation, but you're not allowed on company premises. For how long? Until the investigation is complete, probably 2 to 3 weeks. As I packed my personal items under the watchful eye of a security guard, I felt a mixture of anger and relief. Anger at the injustice of being punished for reporting a crime. Relief at being away from Dr. Williams's toxic influence. But as I walked out of Biomed Dynamics, carrying a box of personal belongings, I made a promise to myself. This wasn't over. I would find a way to continue my work, with or without the company that had failed to protect me. The algorithm was still brilliant. The medical breakthrough was still real. And somewhere out there was a company that would value innovation over office politics. I just had to find them. 3 days into my administrative leave, I was sitting in my apartment in Cambridge, staring at my recovered code files and wondering if my career in medical technology was over. The silence was deafening after 11 months of constant collaboration and lab noise. I'd been checking my email obsessively, hoping for some word from the investigation, but there was nothing. Then my phone rang with an unknown number from New York. Is this Alex Chen? The voice was crisp, professional, with a slight accent I couldn't place. Yes, speaking. My name is Dr. Sarah Patel. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at MedTech Innovations in Manhattan. I hope you don't mind me calling directly, but I understand you've been working on some fascinating AI diagnostic technology. My heart skipped a beat. MedTech Innovations was one of the most respected medical technology companies in the country, Biomed Dynamics' biggest competitor. I'm sorry, how did you get my number? Through some rather interesting channels. Alex, I'm going to be direct with you. We've been following your work for several months now. Following my work? I don't understand. Do you remember the Medical AI Symposium at Harvard last October? You presented preliminary findings about machine learning applications in early cancer detection. I did remember. It had been one of the proudest moments of my career, presenting my early research to a room full of medical professionals and AI experts. Dr. Williams had been reluctant to let me attend, but the company's marketing department had pushed for representation at the high-profile event. Yes, I remember the presentation. Alex, that presentation was extraordinary. Your approach to training algorithms on biomarker patterns was unlike anything we'd seen. Several of our researchers came back from that symposium, specifically talking about your work. I felt a flutter of excitement mixed with confusion. That was very early-stage research. I've developed it significantly since then. We figured as much. We've also been following the academic papers you've published in the Journal of Medical AI. Your methodology for handling false positives in diagnostic algorithms is revolutionary. I had published 3 papers over the past year, sharing my research with the broader medical community. Dr. Williams had been annoyed by the attention they'd received, but she couldn't stop me from publishing academic work. Dr. Patel, I appreciate your interest, but I'm currently employed by Biomed Dynamics. I'm not sure what you're suggesting. Actually, Alex, we're aware of your current situation. Word travels fast in our industry, especially when it involves talent of your caliber being mismanaged. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? We know about the file deletion incident. We know about the administrative leave. And we know that you're being systematically undermined by someone who should be supporting your work. How could you possibly know about that? The medical technology community is smaller than you think. People talk, and when someone with your potential is being wasted, it gets noticed. I was stunned. I'd been so focused on my internal battle with Dr. Williams that I hadn't considered that my work might have gained recognition outside Biomed Dynamics. Dr. Patel, I'm not sure what you're asking me. I'm asking you to come to New York, meet with our team, see what we're building here. We think you might be interested in what we have to offer. I'm under investigation by my current employer. I can't just... Alex, let me be clear about something. We're not trying to poach you inappropriately. We're offering you the opportunity to continue your groundbreaking work in an environment that will support and amplify it rather than sabotage it. What kind of opportunity? We want you to lead the development of our next-generation diagnostic platform. Your AI algorithm would be the cornerstone of a product that could reach millions of patients worldwide. I sat down heavily on my couch. Lead the development? As Director of AI Diagnostics, your own team, your own budget, and complete creative control over the technical direction, plus equity in the company and a salary that reflects your value. Dr. Patel, this is very flattering, but I need to think about this. There are ethical considerations, legal implications. Of course. But Alex, I need you to understand something. What you've created isn't just impressive technology, it's a medical breakthrough that could save thousands of lives. The question is whether you want to see it buried in corporate politics or brought to the world. After she hung up, I sat in my apartment, staring at the phone. Everything had just changed. Again. I called Jennifer Park, my lawyer friend, to discuss the legal implications. Alex, this is interesting timing, she said. Generally, you can't be prevented from taking a job with a competitor, especially if you're not using proprietary information from your current employer. But what about the algorithm? I developed it at Biomed Dynamics. That's more complicated, but based on what you've told me, you published significant portions of your research in academic journals. Once research is publicly published, it's much harder for a company to claim exclusive ownership. What about the specific implementation? That's where it gets tricky. But Alex, remember that your current employer deleted your work and placed you on administrative leave. They're not exactly acting like they value your contributions. That evening, I called Emma to discuss the offer. This is incredible, Alex. It's like the universe is rewarding you for standing up to Dr. Williams. I'm not sure it's that simple. There are ethical considerations about competing with my current employer. Ethical considerations? Alex, they deleted your life's work and suspended you for reporting it. I think you've fulfilled your ethical obligations to that company. But what if this is just corporate espionage? What if MedTech Innovations is using me to steal technology from Biomed? From what you've told me, you published most of your research publicly. And you're not planning to steal anything. You're planning to continue developing your own ideas. She was right. The core insights behind my algorithm had been shared with the medical community through my published papers. The specific implementation had been destroyed by Dr. Williams herself. If I joined MedTech Innovations, I'd be starting fresh with publicly available research as my foundation. The next morning, I made the decision that would change my life. I called Dr. Patel back. Dr. Patel, I'd like to take you up on your offer to visit New York. Excellent. Can you come down tomorrow? I'd like you to meet the team and see our facilities. I can do that, but I need to be clear about something. I won't share any proprietary information from Biomed Dynamics. Alex, we don't want you to. We want you to build something new, something better. Your published research is fascinating, but we're interested in where you can take it next, not where you've already been. As I hung up the phone, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks. Excitement about the future. Dr. Williams had tried to destroy my career, but instead, She'd liberated me from a company that didn't deserve my talents. I spent the rest of the day preparing for the trip to New York, reviewing my published papers, and thinking about how I could improve upon my previous work. The algorithm that had been called a breakthrough at Biomed Dynamics was just the beginning. With the right support and resources, I could create something truly revolutionary. For the first time since finding that empty project folder, I felt like I was moving towards something rather than running away from it. Dr. Williams had erased my files, but she couldn't erase my knowledge, my passion, or my potential. Tomorrow I would find out what that potential was worth. The train ride from Boston to New York gave me 3.5 hours to think about what I was walking into. As the Massachusetts countryside rolled by outside my window, I kept replaying Dr. Patel's words in my head. We want you to lead the development of our next-generation diagnostic platform. MedTech Innovations occupied 3 floors of a gleaming tower in Midtown Manhattan, and the contrast with Biomed Dynamics was immediately apparent. Where my old office had felt cramped and bureaucratic, this space was open, collaborative, and buzzing with energy. The reception area featured wall-mounted displays showing real-time data from medical devices around the world. Mr. Chen, I'm Dr. Sarah Patel. The woman who greeted me was in her early 40s, with confident eyes and a firm handshake. Thank you for making the trip down. I'm excited to show you what we're building here. The tour that followed was like stepping into the future of medical technology. I saw AI researchers working with massive datasets, engineers developing next-generation diagnostic equipment, and clinical teams collaborating with doctors from major hospitals. Everything was cutting-edge, well-funded, and focused on solving real medical problems. This is our AI diagnostics lab, Dr. Patel said, leading me into a room filled with high-end workstations and multiple large monitors displaying complex algorithms. We've been working on early disease detection for 3 years, but we've hit some fundamental limitations in our approach. I looked at the code displayed on one of the monitors. It was sophisticated work, but I could immediately see the bottlenecks in their methodology. You're trying to process too many variables simultaneously, I said. The computational overhead is killing your accuracy rates. Exactly, said Dr. Marcus Webb, the lead AI researcher who joined our conversation. We've been struggling with that problem for months. How would you approach it? Without thinking, I started outlining the mathematical framework I'd developed for my algorithm. The key is hierarchical processing. Instead of analyzing all biomarkers simultaneously, you create decision trees that prioritize the most predictive indicators first. For the next hour, I found myself deep in technical discussions with some of the brightest minds in medical AI. They asked probing questions about my methodology, challenged my assumptions, and proposed improvements to my approach. It was the kind of intellectual stimulation I'd been craving at Biomed Dynamics, but never received. Alex, Dr. Patel said as we sat in her office overlooking Central Park, I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've rarely seen someone with your combination of technical brilliance and practical insight. Our team is impressed. Thank you. I have to say, this is exactly the kind of environment I've been hoping to work in. Which brings us to the offer. She slid a folder across her desk. We'd like you to join MedTech Innovations as Director of AI Diagnostics. You'd lead a team of 12 researchers, have a budget of $2.5 million annually, and full autonomy over your technical direction. I opened the folder and nearly gasped at the salary figure. It was more than double what I was making at Biomed Dynamics, plus equity options that could be worth millions if the company continued to grow. The compensation is generous, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Alex, we're not just hiring you for what you've already accomplished. We're investing in what you can accomplish with proper support. Your algorithm could be the foundation for a diagnostic platform that reaches every major hospital in the country. What about the timeline? We'd want you to start as soon as possible. We're planning to launch our next-generation platform in 18 months, and your technology would be central to that launch. I thought about the contrast between this offer and my current situation. At Biomed Dynamics, I was on administrative leave, fighting false accusations and watching my supervisor take credit for my work. At MedTech Innovations, I was being offered leadership, resources, and the chance to change medicine forever. Dr. Patel, I need to ask about the ethical implications. My current employer might claim that my algorithm is their intellectual property. We've consulted with our legal team about this. Since you published the foundational research in academic journals, and since your employer apparently destroyed your implementation, there's no clear IP violation. Plus, we're not asking you to recreate your old work. We want you to build something new and better. What about non-compete clauses? We've reviewed Biomed Dynamics' standard employment agreements. Their non-compete is limited to directly competing products using proprietary information. Since your research is publicly published, and since they've made clear they don't value your contributions, the legal risk is minimal. That evening, I called Jennifer Park to review the offer. "Alex, this is an incredible opportunity," she said after I read her the terms. "The salary, the equity, the autonomy, this is what your career should look like. But what about the investigation at Biomed? What if they try to claim I'm violating some agreement? Let them try. You're not stealing anything. You're continuing to develop your own published research, and frankly, after the way they've treated you, I'd love to see them try to claim ownership of work they tried to destroy." I spent the train ride back to Boston wrestling with the decision. On one hand, accepting the offer felt like vindication, proof that my work was valuable and that I deserved better treatment. On the other hand, it felt like abandoning the fight against Dr. Williams and letting her win. But as I stared out the window at the darkening landscape, I realized that staying at Biomed Dynamics wouldn't be victory. It would be surrender. Surrender to a system that protected bad managers over good employees, that valued politics over innovation, that would rather destroy breakthrough research than give credit where it was due. The next morning, I called Dr. Patel. "Dr. Patel, I've made my decision. I accept your offer." "That's wonderful news, Alex. When can you start?" "I need to formally resign from Biomed Dynamics and work out any legal issues. Give me 2 weeks." "Perfect. Alex, I want you to know that you're making the right decision. You're going to do incredible things here." An hour later, I was on the phone with Sandra Chen at Biomed Dynamics. "Alex, I'm surprised to hear from you. The investigation is still ongoing. I'm calling to inform you that I'm resigning from Biomed Dynamics, effective immediately." There was a long pause. "Alex, I don't think that's wise. If you resign now, it might look like an admission of guilt." "Sandra, I've accepted a position with another company. I'll be submitting my formal resignation letter today." "What company?" "MedTech Innovations. I'll be directing their AI diagnostics division." Another pause, longer this time. "Alex, that's a direct competitor. There might be legal implications. I've consulted with lawyers. I'm not violating any agreements. I'll need to discuss this with Dr. Williams and the legal team." "Of course, but my decision is final." Within an hour, my phone was ringing with a call from Dr. Williams herself. "Alex, I understand you're threatening to join a competitor." "I'm not threatening anything. I've accepted a position with MedTech Innovations." "That's completely inappropriate. You developed proprietary technology using company resources. Technology that you deleted, Dr. Williams. Technology that you claimed was worthless. The deletion was accidental, as I've explained. And the technology belongs to Biomed Dynamics regardless of its current status. My published research belongs to the scientific community. My knowledge belongs to me. And my future belongs to a company that values innovation over office politics. If you do this, Alex, I'll make sure you're blacklisted from the medical technology industry. You already tried to destroy my career, Dr. Williams, but you forgot something important. Good work speaks for itself. The industry has noticed what I've accomplished, even if you tried to hide it. After I hung up, I sat in my apartment, feeling a mixture of anxiety and liberation. I'd just burned the bridge back to my old life, but I'd also opened the door to a future I'd never imagined possible. I spent the rest of the day drafting my resignation letter, transferring my personal files to secure storage, and preparing for the inevitable legal challenges. But for the first time in months, I felt like I was moving towards something positive rather than just fighting against something negative. Dr. Williams had tried to erase my work, but she'd actually freed me to build something better. MedTech Innovations wasn't just offering me a job. They were offering me the chance to prove that innovation could triumph over sabotage, that talent could overcome politics, and that sometimes the best revenge was simply living well. In 2 weeks, I would start a new chapter of my career. But first, I had to finish the old one on my own terms. 6 months later, I stood in the main conference room of MedTech Innovations, watching as our diagnostic platform processed its 10,000th patient sample in real time. The wall-mounted displays showed accuracy rates that would have seemed impossible just a year ago, 98.7% for early-stage cancer detection, with a false positive rate of less than 0.3%. "Alex, the Johns Hopkins team is on line 3, called out Dr. Lisa Martinez, my deputy director. They want to discuss expanding the pilot program to their entire oncology department. I smiled, remembering when getting a single hospital to test my algorithm had seemed like an impossible dream. Now we had partnerships with 12 major medical centers across the country, and the waiting list for our diagnostic platform was growing every week. "Tell them I'll call back in an hour," I said. "I want to review the latest performance metrics first." The team I'd built at MedTech Innovations was everything I'd hoped for when I left Biomed Dynamics. 12 brilliant researchers, each one passionate about using AI to save lives. No office politics, no credit stealing, no artificial barriers to innovation. Just pure focus on creating the best possible technology. "Alex, you have a visitor," announced our receptionist over the intercom. "Dr. Patricia Williams from Biomed Dynamics is here to see you." I felt my stomach tighten. I hadn't spoken to Dr. Williams since my resignation 6 months ago, though I'd heard through industry connections that Biomed Dynamics was struggling. Their attempt to develop a competing diagnostic platform had failed spectacularly, and they'd lost 2 major contracts to companies using more advanced AI systems. "Send her to conference room B," I said. "I'll be right there." Dr. Williams looked older than I remembered, her usually perfect appearance showing signs of stress. She stood as I entered the conference room, her expression a mixture of pride and desperation. "Alex, thank you for seeing me. I know our last conversation wasn't pleasant." "Dr. Williams, what can I do for you?" "I want to discuss a potential partnership between our companies." I sat down across from her, trying to keep my expression neutral. "What kind of partnership?" "Biomed Dynamics has been struggling with our AI initiatives. We've invested heavily in diagnostic technology, but we haven't achieved the breakthrough results we need. Meanwhile, your platform here is becoming the industry standard." "I'm listening." "We'd like to license your technology for our client base. We have relationships with over 200 hospitals nationwide, and we think your diagnostic platform could be transformative for our customers." I stared at her, amazed by the reversal. 6 months ago, she'd called my work worthless and tried to destroy my career. Now she was asking to license the same technology. "Dr. Williams, I'm curious about something. What happened to the diagnostic system you were developing internally?" Her face flushed slightly. "We encountered some technical challenges that proved more difficult than anticipated." "The same technical challenges I was working on before you deleted my files?" "Alex, I've come here to discuss business, not to relitigate past disagreements." "Those weren't disagreements, Dr. Williams. You sabotaged my work and tried to destroy my career." "I made mistakes," she said quietly. "I let competitive pressures and personal insecurities cloud my judgment. But that doesn't change the fact that Biomed Dynamics has something to offer your company." I leaned back in my chair, studying her. "What exactly are you offering?" "Access to our client network, our regulatory expertise, and our established relationships with medical institutions. Plus, we're willing to pay a significant licensing fee." "How significant?" $5 million annually, plus revenue sharing on any implementations through our network. The offer was substantial, but it wasn't about the money. It was about the principle. "Dr. Williams, let me understand this correctly. You're asking me to help save the same company that tried to destroy me. I'm asking you to help save the medical partnerships that could benefit from your technology. Our hospitals don't care about corporate politics, they care about patient outcomes." She wasn't wrong. Biomed Dynamics had relationships with hospitals in underserved communities, rural areas, and developing countries where my diagnostic platform could save lives that might otherwise be lost to late-stage cancer diagnoses. "I'll need to discuss this with my team," I said. "But Dr. Williams, I need you to understand something. If we move forward with this partnership, it will be on my terms. Complete technical autonomy, direct relationships with the medical institutions, and public acknowledgement of the technology's origins. Of course, Alex, I want you to know that I've learned from my mistakes. What I did to you was wrong, and I'm genuinely sorry." After she left, I sat alone in the conference room, processing the conversation. The woman who had tried to end my career was now asking me to save hers. The technology she'd called trash was now her company's only hope for survival. I called Dr. Patel to discuss the offer. "It's an interesting opportunity," she said. "The licensing revenue would be substantial, and expanding into Biomed's network would give us access to markets we haven't penetrated yet. What about the ethical implications?" "Alex, you don't owe Biomed Dynamics anything, but you do owe it to patients who could benefit from your technology. If partnering with them means saving more lives, then personal history becomes secondary." That evening, I called Emma to get her perspective. "This is incredible," she said. "The woman who tried to destroy you is now begging for your help. How does it feel?" "Surreal. 6 months ago, I was fighting just to keep my job. Now I'm in a position to determine the future of my former employer. Are you going to help them?" "I think so. Not for Dr. Williams, but for the patients who could benefit from the technology. My algorithm could reach hospitals that might never have access to advanced diagnostics otherwise. You're a better person than I am. I would have told her to go to hell." I thought about it. "But Emma, this isn't about revenge anymore. It's about making sure breakthrough medical technology reaches the people who need it most." The next week, I presented the partnership proposal to my team. The response was unanimously positive. They were excited about the opportunity to expand our impact and reach underserved medical communities. 3 months later, we signed the partnership agreement. Biomed Dynamics would license our diagnostic platform for their hospital network, with MedTech Innovations maintaining full technical control and receiving substantial licensing fees. The first implementation was at a rural hospital in Montana, where our AI system detected early-stage pancreatic cancer in a 54-year-old rancher who'd been experiencing vague symptoms for months. The early detection allowed for immediate treatment that likely saved his life. "Alex, we just received the quarterly impact report," Dr. Martinez said, entering my office with a smile. "Our diagnostic platform has now been used in over 50,000 patient cases, with a 99.1% accuracy rate. The estimated number of early detections that wouldn't have been caught by traditional methods is over 2,000. 2,000 lives. That's what my algorithm had accomplished in less than a year of deployment. It was more than I'd ever dreamed possible when I was working alone in my cubicle at Biomed Dynamics." That afternoon, I received an unexpected email from Dr. Williams. "Alex, I wanted to share some news with you. The diagnostic platform you developed has been nominated for the Medical Innovation Award from the American Medical Association. The nomination specifically recognizes your work in developing AI algorithms that have transformed early cancer detection. I've recommended that you be listed as the primary inventor and lead researcher. It's long overdue recognition for breakthrough work that will save countless lives. Thank you for being willing to work with us, despite our rocky history. Patricia." I stared at the email, feeling a complex mixture of emotions. The recognition was gratifying, but what mattered more was the impact. My algorithm was now being used in hospitals across the country, detecting cancers that might have gone undiagnosed until it was too late. As I looked out my office window at the Manhattan skyline, I reflected on the strange journey that had brought me here. Dr. Williams had tried to destroy my career by erasing my work, but she'd actually liberated me to build something far greater than I could have achieved at Biomed Dynamics. The files she'd deleted had been just the beginning. The real breakthrough had come from having the freedom to innovate without fear, the resources to pursue ambitious goals, and the support of colleagues who valued collaboration over competition. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "Saw the news about the AMA nomination. I'm so proud of you. You proved that good work always finds a way to shine, even when people try to bury it." She was right. Dr. Williams had tried to erase everything I'd built, but she couldn't erase the knowledge in my head, the passion in my heart, or the determination to create something meaningful. In trying to destroy my past, she'd actually freed me to build a better future. I opened my laptop and began working on improvements to the next version of our diagnostic platform. There were still cancers to detect, lives to save, and medical barriers to break down. The work was far from over, but for the first time in my career, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. Dr. Williams had erased my files, but she couldn't erase my legacy, and that legacy was now saving lives every single day.